Hello, we are here with the Championship review. As once again, you can clearly see I am not Carl Edwards Levy, so we will leave it with that. And I see we already have someone in here who claims that football is not worth talking about. Three guesses, coached by Ant99. I wonder who he supports. Leicester. Yeah, well, maybe not for you, Ant, but for Andy, obviously, to particularly talk about a great win yesterday. And obviously, from my point of view as a neutral, we'll go through this. So I heard there's a good pantomime on this time of year. Is it by any chance called Leicester City? Ant would probably agree with that, to be fair. Leicester were 2-0 down in 8 minutes yesterday to get on with it. What's the wait? No, we'll make you wait a little bit. Stefan will be joining us, of course, but obviously, I'll say there's the gentleman on to my right-hand side on the screen, Annie Harris, of course. How are you doing? I love how you're representing the good old Tash there. I've just noticed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing great after yesterday. Yeah, doing fantastic. How about you, Michael?
I'm not doing too bad. Well, if I'm doing football, then we've got a pretty decent result yesterday away at Brighton. Very good result, actually. And it's funny watching Newcastle throw away a 2-0 lead against Chelsea, but yeah, we'll not mention them too much. Actually, played well first half, to be fair. But let's remove the fact that this isn't about Southern Newcastle, it's about the Championship. And Stefan Tate has just joined us. How are you doing, my friend, on this miserable, foggy Sunday evening?
Not bad, Michael, not bad. And if we're talking about football, obviously Friday night didn't go the way we expected it to, but we'll come on to that.
Got your goalkeeper to thank for that, mate.
Thanks, Arthur. He hasn't said it was a hot potato.
Aye, sounds about.
No, all good here.
Good.
I will say I have to credit the commentary on Sky Sports for that Okonkwo goal. Okonkwo mistake.
Well, might as well
reference
have been.
Yeah.
Reference Snoop Dogg whilst whilst commentating when describing the goal. Absolutely brilliant.
I'll just say that'll just go right over my head, to be honest.
And obviously Snoop Dogg is an investor at Swansea, hence why it made.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now you've said it. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair enough. I was more thinking the only thing I referenced was when I had to watch us have Lee Camping goal, because that is a mistake he would have undoubtedly made. And I still, to this day, can't believe we thought he would be a good signing. But anyway, we'll move on from that. So, obviously, we have a full round of Championship fixtures to get through. So I figured the place to start, although it is a draw, and we don't tend to start with a draw, I figured the context of the draw, the two teams that were playing, and I think one team would probably be a lot happier than the other. And you can probably guess where it is. It's at St Mary's, where leaders Coventry City, you could say were held to a 1-1 draw at Southampton, but I would suspect, and I'll come to Stefan first, what do you reckon of this? Because obviously Coventry went 1-0 up through Ephraim Mason-Clark. Very good header, actually. Very good half time.
Very good goal. I've seen the goal. Very good goal.
Yeah, very good goal. But obviously, Jay De Silva Jay De Silva got sent off and was sent off for an early bath not long into the second half. But I would still say that's, even though they conceded from winning position, I think it would have been a good point for Coventry, even with 11 men, let alone 10. So I think that's an outstanding point, personally.
Yeah, I think it was a good point for both sides. I mean, obviously, Southampton's going to be the happy of the two getting a point off Coventry, because Coventry could have actually still won the game. But from fantastic defending from Southampton, and the goalkeeper was pretty spot on as well yesterday. So I think Southampton would be the happier of the two, but hey, it's still a point for Coventry. It's not a defeat, which is the main thing, even though Middlesbrough lost to Bristol, but we'll come on to that later. So if Coventry had
I'm
won...
waiting to see if you've pissed Annie off here. Bristol.
Don't worry about it.
If Coventry had won yesterday, they would have felt, we've gained 2 points because of the result with Middlesbrough. But on the whole, I think it was a very fair result, actually for quite an open game.
Yeah, well, actually, I suspect that Coventry fans will be very happy with Bristol City today, put it that way, because obviously they beat Middlesbrough. Will obviously let Annie wax lyrical about his own team towards the end, but Yeah, but no, it's a great result for Bristol City actually. But what I would say, and I want to know what your thoughts are, Annie. So do you agree with Stephanie? Think Southampton would be the more happier of the two? Because I personally think Coventry will be the happier of the two with the context of the red card, even though they conceded afterwards.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because Coventry are 1-0 up with uh, obviously before the red card, Coventry are 1-0 up. So when the red card happens, they are in front. The referee Mason Clark, and the red card happens right at the beginning of the second half. Sorry, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
So
does. 47th minute.
yeah, it's a bit weird because it could have been a sort of backs to the wall, resolute, don't concede at any sort of completely sort of give up any sort of attacking prowess just to make sure you get over the line. But I think the biggest positive from a Coventry perspective yesterday is the players that have not played as big a part this season, because their starting 11 has been so consistent and so reliable and so good. The likes of Joel Latibodiere, Miguel Angel Brau, who both sort of been on the fringes this season, came in obviously because of the red card and were brilliant and were fantastic. So, I think Coventry are missing some players through flu in the camp as well. So that's a fantastic draw, I think, for Cov. And Jada Silva does have this in him where he sort of does make a rash decision here and there. I remember one at Luton away last season where he got sent off and they obviously conceded in the last minute of that game and in that playoff race. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point for Coventry. Obviously, considering that Middlesbrough lost as well, it makes it a little bit better, and they've effectively gained a point on Borough. I think the gap to third is what they're really looking at now, and it's still, I think, 11 points. Which
It is,
if
yeah.
you'd offered Coventry fans 11-point gap to third place at Christmas, I think they'd be laughing. So I think it's a fantastic sort of outcome. And you've got to factor in St Mary's is going to be one of the hardest places to go this season. So that in itself
Especially
is
post Will Still as well.
is exactly. And look, Carl Rushworth made some very, very good saves. He also made some unbelievable saves against Bristol City last weekend, and it's just been fantastic this season. So yeah, it's a good point, I think, for Koff, with all of the sort of contextual things have gone around it. But I don't think by any means it's a bad point for Southampton either. So it's not just a binary good bad. I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I think it's a fair argument you've both made. I mean, you could certainly make arguments for Southampton being the more relieved because obviously they were 1-0 down against 10 men. They've managed to rescue something. So I don't think it's a point that's particularly bad for either side. But I think it is a bit better for Coventry than for Southampton, but it's not a bad point by any means for Southampton. They've got something out of it, which is obviously going to be helpful for them. Obviously, because we'll leave Bristol City Middlesbrough till later on. Let's go to the team that ended up closing the gap to get to third place. Say closing the gap. Yeah, they did close the gap a bit. But they're still 11 points off Coventry. Ipswich. Ipswich beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-1 at Portman Road. Cedric Keepway, sorry, I don't know how the hell I can't pronounce names properly. Cedric Keepway obviously scored a great header that goes in off the bar in the first half before Mr. Inevitable for Ipswich this season, Jayden Philogene. Of course he gets a goal, absolutely does, and still to this day one of the best wingers in the Championship. Ex-Leeds defender, I believe it is, Liam Cooper, obviously produces a pretty good striker's finish actually. From a set piece provided by guess who, Barry Bannon. So there you go. Obviously got one back for Sheffield Wednesday to make it somewhat interesting. But then of course another great winger in the Championship, Jack Clark, seals the win for Ipswich. When you mentioned, Annie, to go to you actually, when you mentioned that saying that they were going to look at the gap to third, are you primarily thinking Coventry looking at the gap to third? I should say. Does that primarily come in the form of Ipswich Town, do you think? Even though our other teams are going to be in the mix for it?
Yeah, I think you've got to be a brave person to not look at Ipswich as a real threat for the top two places. And look, I'm sure some people will be looking at Cov and going, the second is big, so look at like maintaining that, and the gap to third obviously will then just take care of itself. But Ipswich they haven't done it yet, but they can get to a point where they're going to be could theoretically become really, really unstoppable and just knock out, I don't know, 8 wins and 9, 9 wins and 11, something like that. Just a run that's just going to be season defining. Something Coventry did at the start of the season. That sort of run, Ipswich can do it. And you know the worst thing? Ipswich don't necessarily need to be playing at even 90% to be doing that sort of run, where they're just knocking out wins and it's muscle memory and it's just quality, and the bench just overpowers team. They had a bit of a scare here, but it's another game where Jaden Philogene scores. He gets substituted by Jack Clark. Jack Clark comes on and scores. I mean, that left-hand side is just ridiculous. They found someone in Marcelino Nunez, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago now, where they stumbled upon Nunez in that 10 position, and it was kind of an accident because Smodix and Akpom both got injured in the same game.
Yeah.
But now Nunez is the number 10 for Ipswich. He's a bit more of that creative type. They've got options. They've got Eggerly. They've got Casey McAteer. They've got real options in those forward areas of through the front. Georges did go off injured, which is a bit of a worry because Ivan Azon hasn't really stepped up yet. But it might be Chuba Akpom who might go into that number 9 position and take the baton. So look, I think the fact that we're sitting here going, "Oh, Ipswich haven't been at it this season, or they haven't been anywhere near the expectations or the performance levels that we expected them to be," and the fact that they're sitting in third is a scary sort of thing. It shows that this league is incredibly tight. It shows that Ipswich's power off the bench and the quality that they have is winning them games on a regular basis. And I still expect this to happen, even though we're halfway through the season and it hasn't happened yet. There is a click from Ipswich. They're going to be
hard to stop, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to be really hard to stop.
I'm sorry, putting it kindly.
Yeah. So look, I'm now, I think, at a stage where I think you're looking at Coventry, Middlesbrough, and Ipswich, and really looking at them and going, they're the 3 teams in my eyes who can really mount top 2 charge. Obviously, only 2 of them are going to go up, but I think they're at the moment the outstanding candidates to finish in those top 2 places. Coventry just a little bit ahead, quite a bit ahead to finish.
Just a little bit ahead, only 11 points ahead of Ipswich.
Yeah.
No, I think I probably agree with you. I think it is going to be them 3, 2 of them 3, who will end up big in the automatic promotion places. Stefan, I don't know what you think, but I think it is going to be. Yeah. I think for me, it's Coventry and one of Middlesbrough, Ipswich to go in the top 2. Personally,
I think, and we were chatting about this last week. I think that Ipswich are coming into a bit of form now. They're playing like we would expect a parachute team to come down from the Premier League. They're starting to click. They've moved up a fair few places in the Championship. And I have to say, credit where credit's due for that second goal. The breakaway to get the ball to Philogene and for him to pop it in the back of the net the way that was just absolutely amazing. I mean, I know it's only Sheff Wed and Stein. We already know their plight. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to be saving the Championship. I think
unfortunately,
they're already down by like 150%. Unfortunately, to all you Owls fans out there, but credit where credit's due to Ipswich. They're coming on to a game, as Annie says, and I completely agree. I think they're going to go on a 9 or a 11 game, possibly unbeaten run, and they're going to be right in the mix come May.
Yeah, I completely concur. Sorry, and agree with that. I think Ipswich is. Sorry, not talking about Sheffield Wednesday too much, but there's not really much from their end, I think, to really say, unfortunately. I mean, it's the narrative for them pretty much is that, unfortunately, they are going to go down pretty much. But again, it's the main context, as I've said loads of times, is the off-the-pitch future for the club, which is obviously at this point probably more important for Sheffield Wednesday moving forward. But from an Ipswich point of view, yes, I do think that it will. And I think, as Annie said there, although it hasn't quite happened yet, if it does click and Ipswich start playing closer to, say, even 80%, let alone 90%, I would expect them, certainly going forward, to have too much in comparison to Borough, for example. For me, I think it's Coventry will get the title unless a massive drop-off happens, which you never know. It is the Championship, peak Championship, sorry. And then Middlesbrough and Ipswich, of course, will be the two battling it out for the second spot, which is weird to say, considering I think that, I think I've got this right. I think Hull are only something like, I think Hull are level on points with Ipswich, but I don't, and Preston 1 point behind, Millwall 2 points behind, QPR 3 points behind, but I just don't see any of them having enough in comparison to Ipswich to mount a top 2 challenge.
You just have to look at the squads, Michael, and I don't want to be talking about money and stuff like that, but you've just got to look at
It's hard
what
not to,
Ipswich
isn't
are
it, though?
producing. Yeah, because Hull at the moment are playing, I'd say, at close to max capacity, or at max capacity, and they're level on points with Ipswich. And we're sat here saying Ipswich are not playing anywhere near their best, and they're
Yeah.
still winning games, and they're still
Yeah.
really
No,
Fortman Road, and they're still
get
just winning games off the bench. So it's absolutely no slack on Hull or Millwall or Preston or Stoke or
all of whom are
any of
having
these
great
teams that are in
seasons. Yeah.
fantastic seasons and brilliant. Pretty much all of them, maybe apart from Millwall, have massively exceeded my expectations. So, yeah, credit to them. But it's just, can you compete realistically over a 46 game season against a parachute team at Championship level? It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think if you just look at Ipswich's left-hand side,
Yeah.
Jaden Villagene's got 8 goals, Jack Clark's got 7, I think. If I look at the stats, if that's right, I'll have a double check that to make sure that's right. Jaden Villagene, yep, he has got 8, and Jack Clark has got 7. So only 15 goals have come from Ipswich's left-hand side. Not many at all. Should be on 35 goals. Come on, guys, what's the matter with you? Look at the goals Coventry have scored. Joking aside, like Annie's shaking his head, but it's right though. Like, no, Jaden Villagene, no problem. Clarky, on you come. Jack Clark to Jaden Villagene, and obviously, if you remember the context, they cost around 40 million quid combined, which is, that's the effectiveness of parachute teams, and this is where. And said in fairness to Hull and Preston and Millwall, which, like Annie has said, certainly Hull and Preston, don't ever tip them to go down ever again, Michael. Both of them are having absolutely fantastic seasons and competing really at the top end of the division. But obviously, neither of them have the financial resources that Ipswich do for having a year in the Premier League. So, yeah, but we'll wait and see. But I think Ipswich will start to close the gap at some point. But we'll see how that carries out. Let's go on to some of the teams that Annie just briefly mentioned there. So which one let's start at the MKM Stadium. So we had Hull City beating West Bromwich Albion 1-0 thanks to an Ollie McBurney penalty. Gotta say, I don't know if you watch obviously on the highlights of this game. This is a classic example of don't take chances, get punished, because West Brom, particularly I'm looking at you, is it Isaac Price? Yep. Isaac Price.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a sitter in an empty goal, and he skies it over the bar. So I think Hull probably did ride their luck in this game a bit. But Stefan, what do you think? But still, you got to give them credit. That is a massive 3 points for them.
Totally. 100%. I agree with you. Hull did ride their luck. But hey, sometimes it's not the way you win. It's not how you win. It's the way you win. Sometimes you have to ride your luck. In this game, we definitely rode their luck. Easy for me to say. And Ollie McBurney stepped up again and scored. And ever since he's come back from injury, Hull, I think, have got the talisman back up front in McBurney. I like McBurney. I think he's in some seasons he's been quite an underrated player, but this season he's really showing what he can do, whether it's from a dead ball situation or a passage of play. The guy can finish, and Hull are just doing absolutely fantastically, considering they're not a parachute team. Where we are this season is definitely surprising me. And once again, they could even be in the mix for the playoffs come May.
And considering that they only just stayed up last season as well, which is
Exactly.
very impressive for them. So I think That's what, and this is where me and Annie have made this constant joke. And I think we both went for Hull and Preston. I know I went for Hull and Preston to go down. Annie might have went for one of them to go down. I can't remember if we went for both of them to go down. But yeah, I think we
I
kind of
went both.
both. Oh, there you go. So I'm guessing it was us two went for them two and Sheffield Wednesday to go down. So
Well,
we've
you've
said
got one right. You've got
well,
one
yeah,
right.
yeah. The other two have got wildly wrong, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just casually ignore that. But yeah, so we've always said the long story short is don't listen to Annie Harris and Michael Bowers, Hull City and Preston North End. So because clearly, if we say you're going to do shit, then you're going to do completely mint. So
However, on the flip side of Hull winning,
yeah,
there's always a flip side to every football game. The flip side is West Brom lost away again, and
yeah.
like
But
we've been
West
saying the last couple of weeks, I'm starting to fear for Ryan Mason as head coach now.
What do you think about that, Annie?
West Brom. Well, let's hope they lose again next weekend.
I
No,
wonder
guess
who
it's
they're
who's to
playing.
play. But
He's like,
but
I
no,
hope West
there
Brom do
again,
well,
whether
but if you
it's
could just wait till after next weekend, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah.
no, they're another one of these sides in the Championship that's pretty good at home, but then pretty terrible away from home. The West Brom have been pretty terrible away from home. They haven't found a formula. This game is just. I do feel bad for Ryan Mason on this one. I mean, it's, Isaac Price misses a sitter. Various opportunities just goes a begging, and it's a penalty that decides it. I mean, yeah, you just got to look at it and you go, what more can Ryan Mason do? He can't go on the pitch and stick the ball in the back of the net. So yeah, I do feel bad for him.
Yeah, I think obviously, and it's weird because West Brom, I think I looked this up there, like 16th or 17th. Yeah, 16th in the league. Still 9 points off the bottom three, but yeah, I don't think that's going to be much for West Brom fans to cheer about, really. But the good thing is, again, because of how mental this league is, a couple of good results, and then they're on the periphery of the playoffs. So
Exactly. Who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows what's going to happen? Even they say it, and he's just gone off camera. But
I know.
Who
And
knows?
he's clearly so shocked by West Brom's fortunes that he's disappeared. So, or misfortunes. But yes, yeah. Are you all right though? For one side, it's concerning for West Brom, given that they haven't. That Ryan Mason's not been on the best of runs recently. But
No.
also, but on the flip side again, for Hull, it has been particularly good. Let's move on to a couple of the other teams that we mentioned who are still having great seasons, so we can complete the sides that are pretty much in the top six, as we've already mentioned: Coventry, Ipswich, and Hull. Let's go to Ewood Park. So obviously, Stefan, we had Blackburn beating Millwall 2-0. We had Blackburn beating Millwall 2-0. I can't even talk properly. I swear to God. Now, I'm going to try and let you pronounce the name of the first goal scorer, because I have no idea how you pronounce it, because it is one of those foreign-sounding, impossible names to say. And I know
Is this Andrew Johnson?
It's Eider Gudjonsson's son, so it's Gudjonsson.
Okay, I'll just call him Andrew then. Sounds better. After all that effort, I'll just call him Andrew. But no, but obviously Blackburn got themselves ahead very early into the game. But we have to mention the second goal is you must be having your head in your hands and cursing yourselves if you're a Millwall fan or if you're Alex Neil, surely.
The first goal isn't much better either.
No, it's neither particularly great, but the second one's the more obviously calamitous.
The second one came Christmas gift wrapped.
Quite literally.
It was a Christmas gift for Blackburn and Blackburn fans.
Fair play to them for that, but
the first one is also a goalkeeping howler. The second one, it's you're probably blaming both Danny McNamara and Max Crocombe. The first one is just, I think it's hit at Crocombe.
Yeah.
His arms are sort of down together, and he's not really in a position to catch it, and just spills straight out, and it's tapped in. The second one is just a horrible mess. Millwall didn't really look from the highlights. Didn't really look like created too much for open play. Lost. Caleb Taylor had a massive chance from a set piece, but yeah, disappointing for Millwall. But they have lost back-to-back games, and you don't want to be carrying negative momentum going into this run of games that's going to come up, because it's a dense run of fixtures, and if you want to stay in that sort of top 4 region, which is what you want as a Millwall fan, so stay in the top 6, then you're going to have to start picking up momentum again.
Absolutely for that. But on the flip side, for Blackburn's point of view, that's a win that also puts them, I believe it's 6 points clear. Let me double check that. Yeah, it puts them 6 points clear of the bottom 3. As I keep saying, Blackburn's one of those weird teams that I think this type of result doesn't surprise me, but it equally wouldn't surprise me if they go and lost the next game, for example. So let me check who it is they're playing next. Okay, Middlesbrough away, to be fair, that is quite tricky. Let's say Sheffield Wednesday a week tomorrow. So that on 29th of December they go to Sheffield Wednesday. I would not be shocked in the slightest if Blackburn went to Hillsborough and lost. That's just the nature of teams on the bottom of the Championship. They're not able to get as much consistency going as they would like. But you've got to credit them for beating a very, very good Millwall side and managed by a very good manager. So Blackburn, let's not take it away from them of how good a win that was for them. And the last team that's currently in the playoffs went behind late, then equalised late. Preston North End. So Preston drew 1-1 with Norwich City at Deepdale. Is it Jovan Makama? Jovan.
Yep.
I hate to say that. Okay. Well, Makam, I'll tell you what, first of all, go quickly, it looked like a very dull game from what I did see on the highlights, and a typical Blood and Thunder physical battle championship game. But Makama clearly didn't get the message, because he produces it. I really like the finish on this goal. If I'm right, I remember that he turns past his man, then goes on the turn, and then just leathers it into the bottom right corner. And it's a really good finish. And it's obviously he stepped in to fill the missing Josh Sargent's shoes quite well. So if it comes a point, as I'm sure fans don't want Josh Sargent to go, then
to be fair, Michael, even with Sargent, he's been, because when Sargent was fit, he was still playing and he was brilliant. Makama, he's probably been the signing of the season, Makama. So yeah, he looks like a real good player. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about the 96th minute goal that Will Keane.
Well, very quickly, Makama obviously produced a really good finish. And of course, if you're Norwich, you go 1-0 up in the 85th minute, away at one of the hardest places to go this season, where Preston's home form is the main reason that they're up there. Obviously, if they sorted out their away form, then who knows? But then, of course, Will Keane didn't read the script of Norwich winning, because then he decided to equalise in the 96th minute. And I can imagine, and it's a weird one, because I've seen Talk Norwich City, Jack and Chris Reeve, and I remember they both kind of said before the game they would absolutely take a point. But of course, and Stefan, you'll probably find this funny, last season, to make it context, when Sunderland were drawing away at like Millwall and drawing away at, say, Burnley and whatnot, they were games that I said I would absolutely take a point in. But the problem was, away at Millwall, we conceded in the 96th minute, and then against Burnley, we had James Trafford be the villain and save 2 penalties in the last 10 minutes. So every time, maybe it's like, Norwich fans, you get a point, but it's in a way where you're probably going to be a bit annoyed at it. But from Preston's point of view, it's good to keep staying into the game, and when you go behind that late, you think, oh, that could be a sucker punch. But no, fair play to Will Keane for rescuing Paul Heckingbottom's side.
Yeah, fair play. And like I said, last week and either the week before or the week before that, Heckingbottom teams are really hard to beat. Yeah, you can go 1-0 up in the 85th minute from basically a wonder strike from Makoma, but then do you think Preston are going to lie down? Not on your Nelly. I mean, there wasn't too much from the highlights, I will agree with that. But for Will Keane to be the saviour, when I seen that on the highlights, I was quite surprised that Will Keane was the man to pull them back from the brink of a defeat.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that this season's Championship League is so unpredictable. You can't predict anything from 1 minute to the next.
No.
And that's what's making it very exciting for us. Well, certainly for me as a neutral-ish this season. Obviously, living north of the border and you guys are south of me, so you know the championship slightly better, but it is very, very exciting to watch. And
Yeah.
watching the highlights every week, I'm just like, wow. I wish my football product was like this, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
so like
The championship is the best league in the world in terms of
excitement.
bonkerish excitement. There you go. That's the best way I can sort of sum it up. And I can imagine that, particularly with Bristol City, Annie probably thinks, yes, it's great. I just wish we were a bit more consistent than having inconsistent bonkers
I just
excitement.
weren't in it.
Well, what you mean go down
Um,
to League One?
and what
Okay,
a comment
Yeah.
didn't mean
from
Any if
Reese.
it's any consolation, when I said, "Oh well, going down to the Championship will be fun," we're only there for 1 year. There's only one problem, Sunderland.
Yeah,
You went the other way to what I was hoping you were going to do. So
yeah.
yeah, it's
I
not so
mean,
much fun that you want. I mean, it's not so much fun that you want to be stuck in League One. But yeah, no, I do get it. And I just had to bring up Reese's comment here. Heckenbottom lies
yeah,
down more times than Arteta in the Spanish sun. And then in typical Reese
yeah.
fashion, he puts, "It's a will still of laying down." Okay, mate. Yeah. If you hear Reese going about
Can I
Will
just
Still,
add?
it's quite entertaining.
Yeah.
Can I just add on the Preston goal? It all happens in slow motion, doesn't it? Because the ball goes out to the left through to Kovacevic, I think his name is, or
Yep.
Kovacevic, the left
Kovacevic.
wing back for Preston. Puts a floaty ball into the back post, and then it's headed across, and then Will Keane loses his man, and it almost feels like Cordoba and Kovacevic, who's the Norwich goalkeeper,
Yeah.
they kind of stop, and it's just like they kind of let dive slow. It's just very cinematic and just slowing it down. Yeah, happened in slow motion. That was just a bit weird to watch on the highlights, but Will Keane, who's back after his last game being in April for Preston. So the fact that he's come back and the first game back is the fact that he scored a 96th minute to salvage him a point. That's a good story. But I'm sure Preston will be happy the fact that they've gone behind and then managed to salvage something. And they've gone behind in a lot of their games recently. Wrexham, obviously this one, Sheffield United comes to mind. And they've salvaged points from it. So they've got that mentality in them North Ends, which is good.
Yeah. From a Norwich point of view, although it's disappointing to concede so late on, I have to admit, and I was unsure about the appointment of Philip Clement, and there is still a long way to go. But he's starting to really. I'm noticing a market improvement in Clement due to Mr. Bristol himself, Liam Manning. So at least under Philip Clement, at least is instilling a bit of nastiness, I guess, a bit of robustness in Norwich that wasn't there before. And I think it looks like that, and I think Jack Reeves said it in his video for Talk Norwich City that actually under Liam Manning, there's no way they would have even got a point from this game. They probably would have lain down and lost it comfortably. So I think personally, although it is disappointing, they've picked up a point away at Sheffield United. They've beaten Southampton, which is a great result, and then they've gone to press. And like I've said loads of times, not to repeat myself too often, but even if they do stay up, which is what the aim is now, it's still not been a good season because they should be aiming for better than that for Norwich. But it's still Sheffield United, Southampton, and Preston. If I'm right, are the last three results. 5 points from them. Two of them parachute teams, and the other one doing well in the top six. And two of them being away from home as well. I think you've got to just take the improvements there. And I think the games where Norwich face sides down the bottom is what the games that they will need to pick up results in, as in wins more so than Preston away, because it is a hard game. And to what Stefan said about how you can't predict what's going to happen the next, well, I can imagine that Ant would probably agree and disagree at the same time, where you can agree and disagree about how up and down Leicester are going to be, but you can predict that they're going to be every so often. So, yeah. And do you fancy coming on, mate? I suspect he probably doesn't here. Which one he wants to take this? QPR 4, Leicester 1. QPR 4-0 up at half time. Marty Cifuentes derby. Clearly Cifuentes was in the mood of Christmas gift giving. The problem is he's not QPR head coach anymore.
No, I mean, 4-0
Horror
up at
show
half.
from Leicester. Horror show.
4-0 up at half time against a parachute team from the Premier League. I mean, wow. Leicester were just
Abject.
what's the word that can be nice? Awful yesterday. I mean, they were lucky to get their goal from a rebound off the post, which was a penalty.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it just goes
was a
to
good finish, to be
show
fair.
how we were just saying last week or a few weeks ago about Leicester maybe starting to turn the corner, they're climbing up the table, and then right
Nope.
before Christmas, they give QPR the Christmas present of a lifetime. We basically just, I don't know, it was like a training exercise in the first half for QPR. It was that dismal from Leicester. And I think Marty Cifuentes would have been thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing today?
Do you know what kind of goal kind of sums it up for me? And it's actually, well, depends whether Amadou Mbenge meant this or not, but his cross/shot that ends up going in from the right-hand side. If he meant it as a shot,
Yes.
it's a fantastic effort. If he means it as a cross, then it's all the more embarrassing for Leicester that that's gone in. But look, from QPR's point of view, you've thrashed a year one parachute team to get yourself 7th in the table. And I think, it would have been an absolute dreamland for QPR, I can imagine, for this game. And yeah, Julian. So Annie, I don't know what you think. So as much as Leicester have been absolutely terrible, and I still think we kind of said before, Leicester to me strike me as a group of individuals with a bit of quality in them, rather than being a cohesive team on a weekly basis. Taking that away from QPR, though, I think that Julian Stefan has got to be delighted with his team's performance.
Yeah. I would be delighted if it was me, not just because I've got the same name or part of the same name as the manager, but I would be
Yeah.
absolutely delighted with that result against the one parachute team. And I'm just looking at the league and don't write QPR off at your peril, folks. Do not write them off because it is so tight. QPR's on 34, Millwall's on 35, Preston 36, Hull and Ipswich 37. That is the gap. 3 points gap between 7th and 3rd/4th. So don't write QPR off at your peril. I'm not sure what Annie thinks, but I think we're just about to find out.
We will do. We certainly will do.
No, they're good. They're a good team, and they're patchy. Bridget Kone hadn't scored in a while, so it's good to have him back. And Roman Burrell is just
in time for Leicester,
what a revelation Roman Burrell has been. I mean, just fantastic. He's got 12 goal contributions, I think, this season already, which is really good. And yeah, picked up from Burton. I was aware of him, but I'm sure not a lot of Championship fans would have been. But yeah, what a player! And QPR look good, but I'm not going to get carried away because this happens with QPR pretty much every season. Happened last season where I went, oh my god, they're finally sort of going to do this. They're going to They're going to mount a playoff challenge, and then they lose 4 games in 5 or something stupid, and then they just fall off back into 15th or wherever they finish. So it's about consistency for Rangers.
Absolutely. I remember it was under Cifuentes, funnily enough, last season, where I think they started really poorly. Then they had a fantastic middle third of the season and then ended on a downward spiral pretty much. So we'll wait and see. On the subject of Cifuentes, though, I'll come to you again, Annie. I mean, I can imagine what his thoughts would have been at half time on the touchline, where he thinks, well, this return to Loftus Road, or the King Kailesh and Prince Stadium, whatever it's called. I don't know. I'm just inventing names here. But his return to QPR, probably not the way he would have hoped it would have gone, to say the least.
Yeah, that's putting it politely.
Just a bit.
I don't know. I don't know with Leicester anymore, Michael. I'm going to be honest.
Nah.
They're clearly not a cohesive team, are they? They're clearly not. They had a little purple patch, little splurt, and then back down to reality. I mean, the squad is clearly good enough if it's in cohesion to be right near the top of the division, but it's clearly not in cohesion, and it's pointless talking about the fact, but if this team gels, it's not going to gel. It's not going to gel because this team has been together for a while now, and apart from the odd exception, such as Jordan James, who is just an exceptional player and has been very, very good, there's not a lot of them constantly stepping up and consistently performing. They have been impacted by Aaron Ramsey's injury, I will give them that, but there are too many players at Leicester, in my humble opinion, who are very, very good for this division and should be dragging them to near the top sort of six, at the very least, top 4 places in the Championship, and they're just not delivering. And I do feel bad for Martin Cifuentes because it's not just him that's experienced this. Ruud van Nistelrooy, Steve Cooper,
Catalogue of
they have
terrible
experienced
decisions
as
pretty
well.
much that's kind of catching up with them now.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I do feel bad for Marty because I do think he's a good gaffer. I think he's a good manager. He showed at QPR he's capable of being adaptable, flexible, changing things in games. He's a good manager, and this Leicester squad at the minute are just so far off it. Serves from a psychological perspective, it's unreal. So yeah, I do feel bad for him.
I want to quickly touch on, before we move on to the next game, I want to quickly mention this tweet. This was a couple of days ago. I think this was the day before the game. So this is from John Percy. So for those who don't know, John Percy is basically a journalist at the Midlands, reporter at the Telegraph, and he put Leicester City spark backlash after informing staff they will not be paid December's salary before Christmas. Leicester insist there is no financial issue, but an unfortunate alignment of payroll dates. Doesn't look good though, does it? I mean, has anyone got anything to add on that? I mean, it just looks like doesn't look good behind the scenes at Leicester at the moment.
No, and it looks like, with them saying payroll dates, could that be a cover up for the real reason that their owner is maybe starting to, let's just say, run low on funds to keep bankrolling the club in the way that the family have done for so many years now. Remember, under the ownership, they've done loads. They've won the Premier League. They reached the semi-finals of the Champions League at their first attempt. They won the FA Cup in 2021, and now the great fall from grace has happened last season, and it seems to be continuing to happen in the Championship. And when clubs say that they can't pay their wages on time, for me, alarm bells start ringing, especially with a club the size of Leicester. It's just,
Yeah.
and before Christmas as well, what a time to say, nah, we can't actually pay you December salary.
Yeah,
It's
no, it's not good though, is it? Because it's and again, it's like we kind of said. I think it's been, and obviously there's been a lot of ownership issues. There's been, and this is why I really would be genuinely interested in having Ant on here to talk about this. But I would wonder, unless he actually went to the game, I don't know whether he did or not. But if he didn't, I'd be interested to know how much of the game he actually watched, because it seems to me like with Leicester, they've almost kind of got a degree of apathy there. And I think when you're feeling apathetic rather than even angry, I think that's when you know things really aren't going that great. But we'll move on, such as life, of course. But for QPR, like I said, let's not take away from how good a win this is. But as Annie says, this is a QPR thing to look good mid-season, so hopefully they can maintain it up for their sake. We have got, let's see what games. Let's go to Vicarage Road. So I'll go to Annie first on this one. So we had Luca Kermangard's 8th goal of the season that proved the difference for Watford to beat Stoke, who, under Javi Garcia's second spell, Watford are now 3 points off the playoffs, which I always felt Watford were always bottom half, and Stoke have started really well, have slumped just a little bit to slump out of the playoffs, but all of a sudden, they're both in the top 10 of the Championship.
Slumped a little bit, is kind. Their form has fallen off a cliff. I mean, I think it's 6 defeats and 8 or something like that. They are seriously struggling for form and consistency. I don't think it's been through a change necessarily in performances. I think just the attacking quality has just dipped a little bit, and they've got players there like Sorba Thomas, Manhurf, Mabama, who can turn it on, can score goals, and they did. Did in sort of early part of the season. So, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Stoke, but yeah, good win for Watford. Fantastic win for Watford. Tight game, and they managed to ride their luck a little bit. Stoke had chances, even at 1-0, to go on and get something from the game, but you take them when you get them. So yeah, fantastic win for Watford. And Luke Kermangard looks like someone you can bank on to get double figures for as your leading number 9. So yeah, he looks like a good player in Watford. We know they have a good side. We know they have exciting attacking players. It's just about moulding it all together. And hopefully, from a Watford perspective, Javi Grazia has found that formula. Because if he can, Watford are going to be a good side for this division.
Yeah, go on, Stefan. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the thing with Watford is it's all about consistency. But the thing that worried me when they reappointed Javi Grazia, I'm not a fan of going back to something you had before and you let the manager go because it wasn't working. And when he got appointed, I was like, why have they just gone back for something that we felt didn't work? So they let him go, but we've now brought him back because it didn't work with the chap we brought in. But I have to say, I'm actually pleasantly surprised because when he took over at Watford, they were way down in the doldrums of the Championship. He's got them up to 10th. And I think with a bit of work over the Christmas period, obviously, I know that it's congested fixtures, but I think if they can get a small run going and maybe, let's just say, 4 games for the time being, if they can win, say, the next 4 games, that'll give them a bit of belief, a bit of consistency, and who knows? They could even be pushing for a playoff place come April, May kind of time if they have a good run. But I think for Watford, the January transfer window is going to be key. Now, where am I going with this? You may think that Watford have a good team already, which, of course, they do. They have attacking threats. They have what I would say is an okay defence because it has been a bit patchy, but they're now starting to win. They're now starting to find some form. But I think if you can strengthen in one or two areas that you want to strengthen in, bring the players in, and then see where you go from there after the transfer window, who knows what could happen at Watford. I mean, for me, we've always been on the cusp of coming back up to the Premier League. And we know that when Watford are in the top division, for maybe the first season or even the second season, they can sustain top 5 football. And I think that could happen. It's maybe not the strongest of possibilities, but like I say, don't count any of these teams out because the league is so tight. It can change on a dime from week to week at the moment. There's not really a clear set to apart from, say, Coventry, Middlesbrough, of who is going to go up. The rest, it just makes it exciting for the neutrals to watch. And right now, I couldn't call who's going to be the third place team in the Premier League next year. I couldn't call it.
Third place in the Premier League. I'd imagine that'd probably be Aston Villa, maybe.
No,
I know what you meant. Yeah,
going up from the Championship,
yeah.
sorry, to the Premier League.
No, that's fine. I knew what you meant.
I couldn't
Yeah.
call it at all.
No, well, I was going to say, even if you're just taking out, trying to predict the top three, try and predict who's going to be finishing fourth, fifth, and sixth, because at the minute that is almost impossible to try and predict. Just for context, so Hull 37 points in fourth, then downwards it's Preston 36, Millwall 35, QPR 34, Stoke 33, Bristol City 33, Watford 32, Southampton 31. Derby 31, Leicester 31, although the way Leicester's playing at the minute, I'd be quite surprised. So, but even if you go down to say someone like Derby, it's frightening how it's just how close this division is. But you are right, and I think even with Stoke, even with their run of form, but with it nosediving, it's still the good thing is because they've had the start they've had, they're still kept within the playoff picture even by Christmas, despite their bad run of form. So it's the same with that one. And Mark Robbins, we know, is obviously a very capable manager. Getting he's able to get a team into the playoffs, and thankfully, he's not started slowly like he was doing in the last couple of seasons at Coventry, and that's probably what's helped Stoke so far. But again, like with Watford, I think Stoke, the January window is obviously going to be huge, and I think for a lot of teams, non-parachute ones especially, but even to an extent, parachute ones, you can get good Premier League loans. I think that's probably some of the things that'll be one of the ways that you can sort of go for it, because the league is there to be got at this year, no doubt about it. Let's go on to the next game. So now I've said this club, despite the start they had, with the quality they've got, I think could, if they go on a really good run, make a case to get themselves into the playoffs potentially. But nevertheless, it was a good win for them yesterday. Sheffield United 3, Birmingham City 0. The Tommy Doyle derby. I forgot that Tommy Doyle actually had a spell at Sheffield United when he got promoted under Paul Heckingbottom. Decided he only fancied 18 minutes of it, though, as he got sent off, which, to be fair, was a pretty nasty challenge on Gustavo Hamer. But and I'll come to you on this. Obviously, Gustavo Hamer sets up the first goal from Bindon from a corner, and then scores. Obviously, it's not great goalkeeping, not great from the Birmingham goalkeeper, but still, Hamer manages to score from a tightish angle. How important is Gus Hamer to Sheffield United's side?
Pivotal. I mean, he's Championship Player of the Season. I mean, like, he's a fantastic, he's a ridiculous player for this division. He can pull strings. He can score goals from the edge of the box. He can pick out the perfect pass. He's just a quality player, and it's nothing we haven't said before. He's been injured for a little wee while at the start of the season, so to have him back is what is going to make Sheffield United better. So yeah, it's a great win, and Patrick Bamford scored again for United as well. So that's another positive, and the reaction that Chris Wilder got after obviously the defeat at West Brom is also fantastic. Flip side to this, Birmingham, the away form is absolutely terrible. I mean, it's hopelessly bad. It needs to be better if they are to sort of sustain a real playoff push. And the draw at home to Charlton, the odd result is fine like that at home, but if you're consistently going to lose games away from home, and you're not going to be perfect if you're not going to be perfect at home pretty much all the time, it's going to be really difficult to mount anything. So they need to start finding a little bit more of a balance, home form compared to away form, because I think they're 14th at the moment, and obviously it's not too far off the playoffs. It's not too far off the playoffs at all. But how much longer are you gonna sort of accept that as Birmingham, the ownership, who are not here, and the money they spent in the summer is not just for we'll consolidate in the middle this season and we'll go again and we'll build. No. They want sort of immediate results, and if they're not going to get that under Chris Davies, and he's going to keep them in 14th, no matter how sentimental you are, no matter how well he did last season, it's going to be thank you very much, Chris, but see you later.
Yeah,
exactly. And if they think if there's even a slight doubt that Chris Davies is not the guy to do it, well, he'll be out the door.
Completely agree. And obviously, what didn't help them was the red card. But even despite that, though, Sheffield United can only play what's in front of them. And I think, as the BBC Match report said, they made light work of Birmingham, really. So I think, we'll wait and see. Look, Sheffield United again are, 3 points behind Birmingham now, if we want to look at it that way. They're 9 points off the playoffs, so it's not impossible that they can mount it. They just need to start showing their quality. And I'm looking at, obviously, the next game, I'm sure Sheffield United's next game, I'd imagine Stefan might want to watch because it's away at Wrexham on the 5:30 kickoff on Boxing Day. So that will probably be on TV, I would imagine. But obviously after that, they've got to play Stoke away. Then they host Leicester on New Year's Day. Again, another TV game. They go to Oxford before the FA Cup game against Mansfield. But the point is, they need to, if they start building any element of consistency, I wouldn't rule out Sheffield United for playoffs just because their squad, year 2 parachute team, I do get that, but it's still good enough, in my opinion, to really make a push for the top 6 at the very least. But yeah, we shall see how that one hands out. Let's start moving ahead towards the next couple of games before, obviously, Stefan and I can talk about their respective teams. Where should we go first? Let's go to the Valley. Charlie Kelman scores from outside the box, I believe, if I remember seeing the highlights correctly. As Charlton, I can't remember, is this Charlton's first win in a good few matches, isn't it?
Yes.
I know they had been on a pretty big slump at that point, but Stefan,
they got a point at Birmingham.
Yeah, that's a good result.
The first win in.
Yeah.
But so Charlton 1, Oxford 0. Very important win for Charlton. Is it equally as worrying for Oxford, do you think, given Charlton's run of form?
And it's a tough one. I mean, Oxford, I think they're 19 for 20 or something like that in the table.
If you give me a minute, they're 22nd.
So they're ready to go for 22nd. And I fear for Oxford. Because for me, they've been dicing with the door of going back down to League One for about 2 or 3 seasons now. And they've always managed to do like that.
Just to interrupt you, Stefan, sorry, this is Oxford's second season in the Championship.
Sorry,
last year they got into it.
Season in the Championship, yeah.
But you could say if it wasn't for Gary Rowett, they would probably be in League One now.
I would think so. I would think so.
I think Oxford fans would argue if it wasn't for Gary Rowett now, they'd be a lot higher up the league.
Well, in which case, okay, let's tackle that then. Who are they going to get if they get rid of him?
I don't think it's about I don't think it's about that necessarily, and obviously that is obviously very, very valid point, a very valid argument.
By the way, it doesn't mean Gary Rowett is absolved of criticism. By the way, he should be criticised if he deserves it. But yeah,
I think the point of argument is that there is a squad here, and it's clearly not working. The football he's trying to play over a longer term period, it worked last season, and you have to remember, Oxford went on 2 unbelievable runs last season, and that was sandwiched in between a run where they were considerably the worst team in the league for about 10 games. So, might have been a bit less than that, but there was a run last season where Gary Rowett oversaw one of the worst runs in the division. So, over a longer term period, is that sustainable? No. It's not. You can't just go up and down, and especially with an Oxford who, no respect, are not going to get the biggest backing in the Championship. They don't have the biggest squad, best squad, whatever. But the football is clearly not working, and something needs to change. And the buck stops with Gary Rowett, and I don't think this Oxford squad is brilliant. I'm going to be honest. I don't think this Oxford squad is fantastic. I do see some flaws in it. You compare it with other teams in and around them: Norwich, Sheffield United, even Pompey potentially.
Blackburn,
You're looking
Swansea,
at it going, Blackburn, Swansea. Yeah, exactly. You're kind of looking at it going, is it really good enough? Now even Charlton to a certain degree, because Charlton have had loads of investments since they came up. And that's another important point. 2 teams from League One have come up and they've just shot straight above likes of Oxford and Pompey. So it's really concerning actually for Oxford, because they now find themselves in a position where the gap even to 20th is big. The gap is growing. The crack is formed, and now the crack is it's propagating. So they need to find results quickly, otherwise they're going to be right in the
Yeah.
mire, and they're going to find themselves in a place where they might be looking for a managerial change in the hope of firefighting again.
What do you guys think of Reese's point here? Oxford just riding on luck, perhaps, but just never prepared for the championship.
I mean, as Annie said, last season they did have two unbelievable runs, but this season, if we're not careful, as we've just been saying, we're going to be right in the mire. And the thing is, for me, Oxford don't have the biggest budget in the league. We know that. So if we did get rid of Gary, and let's just say not all football problems lie with the manager. Sometimes it's a 50-50 split of whether the players aren't playing because they don't like the style or football philosophy that the manager's trying to instill. Secondly, if it is down to the manager, who would go to Oxford, because they're not going to have the biggest backing in the transfer market. Oxford don't have a big budget to get like a big name manager. So who would want to throw their hat in the ring?
Just to add a question,
That's the
really.
trouble.
Just to add a question, what Annie was mentioning before about to make a comparison about Ipswich compared to like Hull and stuff. Is there an argument that last season Oxford's players were playing at 120%, and that's what kept them up, along with Gary Rowett, the fresh ideas of Gary Rowett and stuff like that. And now they've kind of regressed to, I say regressed, they've got to a level that's more what they're expected to perform at week in, week out, but it's just not quite good enough, irrespective of the football Gary Rowett's got them playing. So in other words, did they overperform above themselves last season considerably?
I wouldn't say considerably, but I do think the argument to say that they overperformed is there, because ultimately, and again, it was very binary analysis. But you look at the squads; they didn't sort of finished above Luton. Probably shouldn't have finished above them.
We look at Cardiff, for
I'm trying
example,
to-
who finished top 10, top 12 the year before.
yeah, Cardiff, Hull, Stoke, Preston, even last season. So they did finish above some sides. You're kind of looking at it going, okay, they've done well there. They've done well to finish above them. So yeah, I think that might be just catching up with them. It was a similar case with Plymouth, where Plymouth did really well to stay up. They got up, they stayed up, skin of their teeth, they stayed up. But then the following summer, where you have to recruit well and your recruitment has to be spot on, and it just wasn't. I don't think for Oxford it wasn't. They didn't address their goal scoring issues well enough. They signed Ben Davies, who I think has been okay. Okay, Brian de Keersmack has been really good, but just those loan signings in Lancashire and Luke Harris just haven't delivered yet.
Yeah, right. Well, let's split the script. Sorry, and talk about Charlton. Equally, Stefan, how important a win is this for Charlton and Nathan
Very,
Jones?
very important for Charlton and Nathan Jones. I have to admit, I've liked Charlton this season, and I know we went on that little slump, but the win yesterday and the goal was, it was a nice goal, it was a well taken goal, and I wouldn't rule Charlton out from going on a little run either.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating one. I've always said that I felt that Charlton have done really, really well, and I felt that the Valley will be a very tough. Will be the big reason that they'll have a chance of staying up. And actually, I quite like Nathan Jones. I'm not up to a certain level. He's a really good manager. Okay, wait, Southampton didn't work. Stoke didn't work. There's certain clubs you'll probably just be able to suit. And whereas with Charlton, who I actually would say probably are a club size wise that should be in the Championship actually, but considering they've just come up from League One, they will. And remember they had to do it via the playoffs as well. If they if they fulfills their expectations, I think he'll be very popular at Charlton. I think the siege mentality that he would have at to actually mention about, I know obviously Reece mentioned this about Oxford, but I think the point applies to Charlton. I think the siege mentality they have at the Valley, I think is massive for them if they're going to have a chance of survival.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is undoubtedly a huge win for Charlton.
I mean, if Charlton win the next 2 games,
Just for what it's worth, sorry, Charlie's point, I agree. I do think Charlton will be all right, but
yeah,
we'll wait and see.
Charlton will be fine. But if Charlton win the next 2 games, for example, they're going to be looking at the top half of the table, top half of the championship, because they're currently 17th. But if they win the next 2-3 games, depending on other results, of course, they could easily go up to 10th, 9th, because they're on 27 points just now. And we all know what a win can do for a team in this division, unless you're Wrexham, you win, draw, win, draw, win, draw, lose. But,
Yeah.
but,
I mean, if I'm honest, I think Charlton fans would probably just take survival at this point. I think they would. I think they would take just getting another, say, 23 odd points.
without a shadow of a doubt, but because of the bottom 3 in the championship, because of the bottom 3, Charlton's going to be fine. They're going to be safe. And then I think they can build in the summer and push on for next season.
Well, let's hope so.
It's all about consolidating this season, make the Valley the fortress it once was, start getting ones at home, have okay away form if you can manage it, consolidate and push next season or the season after.
Okay, that's more than valid points made. Right, let's move on to the third last game before obviously we talk about, well, in Stefan's case, unfortunately, talk about Wrexham, I suppose. But before we get on to that, before we torture Stefan a bit, we'll talk about Pride Park. Derby 1, Portsmouth 1. So this was 1-1 at half time. It finished 1-1. Callum Lang scores a pretty good solo goal, actually, the run that he goes on and the finish to go with it in the first 6 minutes of the game to put Portsmouth 1-0 up at Pride Park. But then obviously Derby get level on the stroke of half time when Patrick Agmian, I think is how you say that, puts pressure on Hayden Matthews from across from the right-hand side, and Hayden Matthews was quite unfortunate the fact he ends up going into the back of his own net. I'll come to Annie on this one. Does this draw suit? Does this draw between Derby and Portsmouth suit either side too much? And if so, who do you think it suits better? Or it could be neither, depending on what your answer is.
I think it probably suits Pompey more, just because of the fact that they won against Blackburn, and that's a big win. And Derby, I don't know. It feels a little bit that they're obviously good at very good. They're obviously very good at putting balls into the box, getting on the end of corners, set pieces. They're very good at set pieces. Joe Ward has been fantastic this season, right wing back. I think it probably suits Pompey more. I don't know about you, because away from home, Pride Park's a difficult place to go. Derby been pretty hard to beat. Can be hard to beat. Should be hard to beat. I'd say probably suits Pompey more. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say it probably does. I think it's a solid enough point. I don't know what Stefan thinks. I think it's a solid enough point for Portsmouth. I think Derby obviously be disappointed not to win, but lose 1-0 down. Important that you get something out of the game, because we know what obviously Derby's ambitions were going to be a bit higher than what Portsmouth might have been, you'd imagine, given that. But then again, both teams came up together from League One 18 months ago, so you never know. But yeah, I would agree. I think it probably suits Pompey more than it does Derby.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. It definitely suits Portsmouth more than Derby.
Right, let's move on to the last 2 games. So, sorry, Stefan, we're going to torture you a little bit. We'll start with the Friday night game and the last 2. Stefan's like, right, I'll just talk about this for 2 seconds and I'll get it over and done with. Swansea 2, Wrexham 1. Now, I'm not going to say this is the South Wales derby like what the Cardiff Swansea game is. I think Wrexham's North Wales. Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, Wrexham are North Wales. Yeah.
Right, okay, then, because my geography is literally one of the worst points of my personality. So I'm not surprised I didn't get that wrong, to be honest. But yes, Friday night at the Liberty Stadium. So Cameron Burgess, obviously an own goal, puts Wrexham 1-0 up in the first half, and I can imagine Stefan watching that's going.
Sorry, Michael. That's his third own goal of the season.
Yes, I did hear
Cameron
about
Burgess.
that. Yeah. What a neck for scoring own goals, Paul Lad. Well, I say Paul Lad. I don't
know. But he does love an own goal.
Yeah, it does seem like he does. But then, obviously, in the second half, Swansea strike force. Oh, God, I'll get to Luis's comment in a minute. But yeah, Swansea strike force proves to be the difference. So I believe it was a slightly deflected effort from Popotnik in the 70th minute that brought Swansea level. And then I'm sure we're going to get a Stefan-style rant here. But what the hell is going on for Adamida's 90th minute winner, mate? Talk to us.
I mean, I'm now starting to wish that Adamida stayed at Celtic for obvious reasons. I don't know why we let him go, to be honest. Well, I do, but that's another story.
Yeah. Have you seen this comment here? As Nathan calls it, the two small clubs forced rivalry.
Yep. He's pretty right. I mean, both of Swansea's goals were quite fortunate. It was a heavy deflection in the 70th minute to take it past Arthur. And then, lo and behold, we have the most horrendous howler I've seen from Arthur since he joined Wrexham, which was the ball came in. He looked like for all the world he was going to punch it away. He just connected with it very. It just brushed his hand so he couldn't punch it. The ball came back into the box. Now, how he didn't catch this, I'll never know. I will never ever know how he couldn't catch his ball. It slipped through his hands, and Adamida had his best Christmas present ever, and even George Dobson on the line couldn't stop the ball. Why? This win-draw loss, it needs to go. We need to have like at least 2 or 3 wins on the bounce. I know that Rob Mack and Mr. Reynolds or Deadpool are saying they just want to consolidate the season. When we were 1-0 up, I checked the league table. We were in 9th. Because of that loss, we're now back in 15th again. We seem to flirt with going into the top half for a week and then going back into the doldrums of bottom half with always the fear of looking over your shoulder at the other teams behind you. And you think for all the money that we spent on players in the summer, we spent 40 million on players, and yes, we are Disney FC, for want of a better word, thanks to Welcome to Wrexham, which is coming back for a 5th season in 2026. You would think that for all the money that you've spent, consolidation would be easy, but of course, making the jump from week 1 to the Championship has proven tough for old Parky Boy, because he doesn't get that consistency in the Championship. And as we all know, his Championship managerial record is about pants, really, to be honest.
Patchy, to say the least, yeah.
It's very patchy, and if things don't improve, I think Parky's time could be up at Wrexham.
Well, I'll get Annie's thoughts on this, right? But this is the questions I was asking at the start of the season, which was: is there a point where Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds have to show a bit of ruthlessness here, and the sporting directors as well? Yeah. So I was going to see what Annie's point of view was. Don't whale that pizza down very quickly to answer the question. Well, I'm assuming it's pizza you're eating or whatever it is you're having. But what I was going to say is, I think,
Safe guess.
yeah, fair enough. I did say, to be fair though, that I felt like it was going to be a big period for this season for Parky. I think that, like I said before, I think Parky was more than good enough to consolidate Wrexham in the Championship with obviously the backing that he's had, because it's probably the first job he's had where he's got considerable financial backing in terms of the way of transfers. Obviously, he was at Sunderland a few years ago, but we were in League One then, so we were never going to spend a huge amount of money. But I do get the impression, longer term, as I've mentioned before, if they want to get the Premier League, they're going to have to probably upgrade, I would think.
Yeah. I say yeah. I don't know, to be honest, because I think the frustration with Parky at the moment is the game management, or the game in the game management, and they become way too passive when they take the lead, Wrexham, and they similar to Derby actually, where they become just too passive after you take the lead, and it's coming back to bite them, because teams in the Championship will score against you if you just sit there and,
because the quality's a lot better than what Wrexham can play against.
If you sit there and go, oh yeah, just come at me, we'll sit and defend for 60 minutes or whatever, it's not going to happen every week, and more often than not you will lose games. So Wrexham, they need to find a way where they just put the game to bed, go 2-0 up, and then you can sort of go a little bit more passive and can be a little bit more sort of structured defensively and focus on that side. But 1-0 up away from home at Swansea, where you were a little bit fortunate in the first place to go and take the lead, sitting back in that scenario probably wasn't the best way to go. And it's coming back to bite them in a pretty brutal way. But I don't know. I don't think calling for Parky said right now is what Wrexham would need. But yeah, I do agree with Stefan in terms of that they clearly want someone who, if not this season, definitely in the next few seasons, will want to take Net Wrexham to the Premier League and get very competitive near the top of the division. And if Parkinson's not going to sort of show promise or do that, well, you'll be out the door, won't you? It'll be sort of all sympathies and very emotional farewells and stuff. But it'll be whatever. Take someone to take us to the next step. So this is not a Wrexham side that have come up from League One and sort of stuck with their League One core. It's sort of adapting and take a little bit of time to settle. This is a side that's come up from League One, and the players they've retained have got Championship experience. The likes of Matty James, George Dobson. They've added so many players. They've added so many players who.
Nathan Broadhead, Callum Doyle as well.
Championship experience ready to go now. The likes, and then you've got the sort of X Factor ish or the unknown of Anissa Kabore or Liberta Kakachi. They've got a good squad. They've got a really nice squad, and it's just about that quality. It's got to come together at some point. It's not a case of they haven't got enough quality. They have. They really, really do. It's just someone who can take it to that next level. And whether Parkinson's that man, well, we'll find out.
One way or another, we will find out. And I think it's not a bad thing necessarily that when the time comes to part ways with Parky, again, his legacy can still be intact at Wrexham, because I'm sure he's thought of as a big club legend when he's got 3 promotions in successive seasons. And as I've mentioned before, and I know Stefan in particular will agree with this, I get bored of hearing about, well, you've had the money and all that and the other. That means diddly squat if you don't go and do the job. You still have to go and get promoted. So, and if anything, that adds more pressure. But I will make a point that Stefan might kind of find funny. So when he was mentioning before Wrexham are 1-0 up, chance to go to 9th, let's go to 15th.
Yeah.
Why not? Oh, 9th? Nah, overrated. Let's stay bottom half.
But of course, on the flip side, we do have to say well done to Swansea, because that was a big result for them and their manager, who's now just starting, I would say, to find his feet in the Championship. And trust him to do it against Wrexham more, but
Yeah,
he had to
yeah,
do it
plenty of time.
sometime. It was coming. If he can get Adam either on form, playing consistently every week like that, he could be their fox in the proverbial box.
And as well, I do rate Eder and Vipotnik up front.
Yeah.
I think that's two very, very good forwards. Let's quickly answer this question before we get on to the last game with Annie's mighty Bristol City. Yellow's Insider. Do you think Norwich will manage to get out of the relegation zone? Short answer for me, yes.
Yes.
I think they will do it.
Yes, for me.
There you go, Yellow's Insider. I don't know what your actual name is, but I'll just say Yellows. But yes, it's. I think we were in unanimous agreement. I think you will stay up, Charlie Jarrett. Sorry, mate, if I pronounced your name wrong. I don't think I have though. You would think Norwich will stay up, but they have big problems there. Who knows? I think Philip Clement will get a lot out of this squad, and I think it's. If anything, it's kind of showing up how how much Liam Manning tenure didn't work. But let's get on to the last game. So, for once, and I can see already by the smile on Annie's face when usually he's very depressed to talk about Bristol City.
I was laughing at the Liam Manning comment, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I was trying to make the Liam Manning comment to one, make you laugh, but two, to kind of segue, since he used to be at Bristol City, and make it more seamless, but that's just kind of been ruined now. But either way, I'm sure Annie will not care about that. Anyway, Bristol City 2, Middlesbrough 0. Is this it does this? I can imagine this both does and doesn't surprise you, because I know you've said about Bristol City's performances, but this is also peak Championship as well. So, yeah,
No. This is not peak Championship at all. This is
peak Bristol.
This is
Classic Bristol City.
This is peak Middlesbrough. Classic Middlesbrough and Ashton Gate.
Yeah, you're right.
And Bristol City.
Am I right in thinking? Sorry, interrupt.
Our record?
Does Emil Rees in particular have a good record against Borough, even when he was at Preston?
He scored 8 goals against Borough. 8 goals in 9 games against Middlesbrough, which is absolutely mental. I think he scored 6 seasons running against Middlesbrough, which is crazy. Yeah, he has a fantastic record. He has a brilliant record. And Bristol City have a fantastic record against Borough at Ashton Gate. I think last time they beat us at any ground was in 2020. And considering we've been in the Championship with them every season in that time, that's a pretty damning record. We normally have the number over them, and we did yesterday. If we're diving into the game, Borough, a lot of the ball hit the post after 3 minutes through Morgan Whittaker, Tommy Conway, who was a bit of a spearhead for abuse again yesterday.
I wonder why.
Not particularly surprising, but not particularly surprising. Had a shot just wide of the post in the first half, and then counter-attack. Emil Rees gets the ball on the left-hand side, hits a shot. It's initially blocked, and the second shot it's a horrible goal from a Borough perspective, because Solbrin screws up. Basically, he's let that go under his left arm, and shouldn't really, but you take it as you get them, and then the pattern repeats itself. Borough have a lot of the ball. They don't create as many clear gilt edge opportunities. There's a few shots from the edge of the box and stuff. Actually, a big part story from this game was Max O'Leary, who stepped in for Radek Vitek. So Max O'Leary made his first start of the season, and Vitek has done something to his knee. Let's hope to God it's not something serious, because Max yesterday did not look at it. Obviously, this is Max O'Leary, by the way, who was our number 1 for 48 games last season in our playoff finish. So by no means someone who's a complete sort of
no slouch,
underqualified. Yeah, he's not underqualified. He's we've just got 2 very good goalkeepers. But yesterday, you could tell that he'd not played in a while, and the injury hasn't helped him, and the lack of games hasn't helped him either. So he needs to get back to last season's Max O'Leary, which is a little bit better. But let's hope Radek Vitek's back as soon as possible. But he makes a fantastic save in the second half. In the first half, he decides to give the ball straight to Tommy Conway, almost like it's a little bit of a gift, a Christmas present, straight to Conway inside the box. And thankfully, I think it's Hayden Hackney who yeah, I mean, Hayden Hackney's just quality. I have seen him before in a Middlesbrough shirt at Ashton Gate, but that's the first time I went, good grief, this guy's seriously good. Everything went through him, got on the ball, beat the press, and every time he got on the ball, we immediately went and pressed him. We didn't press the Middlesbrough centre backs, but as soon as Hackney got on the ball in the midfield, we went all over him. But even then, I thought he was fantastic and rode the press well at times and was pivotal in Middlesbrough's attacking play. But Adam Randall cleared one off the line. He was fantastic as well. So was Rob Dickey. I'm waffling here. Second goal, nice header from Atkinson from the corner. That corner is won after about 15 minutes of Middlesbrough putting the pressure on us, winning a load of corners, winning set pieces, and then Sinclair Armstrong gets on the ball, runs down the left-hand channel, and we know what Armstrong's like, rapid, physical, gets a shot off, brilliant save by Solbrin, corner comes in, the resulting corner, 2-0, and then it didn't really look like Middlesbrough were going to seriously target us. They should have scored even after that, really. They had one big chance, but couldn't convert it, and it didn't really look like Middlesbrough's day, but you take it as they come, and despite 28 shots Borough had, I think, over the course of the game, I wouldn't say we were completely deserving of the win, because Middlesbrough should have scored at least once, if not twice, but the fine margins went for Bristol City on this occasion, and that's what you kind of need against the side in Middlesbrough. We're second in the league, informed team in the division. It's not going to be sort of straightforward and just going to be a walkover. It's going to be perfect, blazing football and convincing win. It needs a bit of something like that. So yeah, much better from Bristol City, because the performances have been good recently. It's just that next step in defending our box well, which we did fantastically yesterday, and then that final that final bit of quality in the final third. So yeah, I'll stop my rambling there and
I'll
say
enjoy it. It's a big win.
Top win, so. And yeah, top win. And yeah, but my mind immediately goes to the next game, which is not much easier, and we're still not out of this sort of run in December from hell.
Well, I'm looking at so the run in December from hell. Where does that extend to? Sorry, because obviously West Brom and Millwall away are your next two games. Does that conclude your run from hell?
I think so. Yeah, I think that.
After that, you've got Pompey at home. You've got Pompey at home, then Preston at home. Watford in the FA Cup. I imagine you don't care too much about that. Oxford away, Ipswich away, Sheffield Wednesday at home, Derby at home. That takes you up to to Friday, January the 30th.
Yeah, this next two fixtures, definitely are tricky, and then Pompey at home is not easy, but you kind of target that as 3 points, and then Preston at home is very difficult as well. So, we have at least 3 out of the next 4 fixtures where I wouldn't be going into it very confident of us getting a 3-pointer.
Do you know what? That would be weird though. It would be like, imagine you beat West Brom and Millwall away and then lose at home to Pompey or something. Exactly. You're going, wouldn't surprise me.
That championship, innit?
Again, peak championship. And it's not just a Bristol City thing; it's a general thing. One team could beat one that's near top of the league and go, "Hey, we're facing the bottom team and we've lost to them." That's just how the nature of the division works. But no, thank you very much to these two for joining me on Sunday evening to go through the table. I mean, I still need to figure out how to actually get this bloody table on here, but now I'm too lazy to even attempt it. But all I'll just say is Coventry have a very small lead at the top of the championship by only 11 points to third place Ipswich, with Middlesbrough sandwiched in between them, 6 behind Coventry and 5 ahead of Ipswich. Hull joins third effectively, but really in fourth with 37 points as well. 5th place is Preston on 36 points, and 6th place is Millwall, completing the playoff picture on 35 points. And then obviously from QPR, Stoke, Bristol City, Watford, Southampton, Derby and Leicester, they're only all separated by 3 points. So again, this league is just nuts. And then obviously down the bottom, we know what's happened with Sheffield Wednesday. They are now, I think it's 30 points adrift of safety, with their minus 9 points at the moment, compared to Portsmouth's 21, who are 21st. In 22nd, we have Oxford on 19 points and Norwich on 18th. But yeah, I guess unless if you have anything last things to say, this is the last show we do on the Championship review before Christmas. So obviously, there's a chance, I believe, we might be going live next Saturday evening instead of Sunday, just because seems to work better for everybody, and also because on Boxing Day, forget Christmas Day. Boxing Day is where it's about, when it's like a complete Boxing Day full of football. And I saw people complaining, there's no games on the TV. There's no games on Boxing Day. Yes, there is. There's the Championship. English football exists outside the Premier League. So, but yes. But no, thank you very much to the pair of you. Are you both going to have much planned for Christmas?
Just a quiet one for myself. Just a quiet one for me.
Fair enough. Annie?
Yeah, same. Much the same, yeah.
Get anxiety over West Brom away on the 26th.
Yeah, probably that'll be nice. Yeah.
I should have said a quiet one with a derby sandwiched in between. And Carol will know what I mean because he supports one of the teams.
Yep, okay. More than fair enough. But anyway, guys, yeah, I think that is us ending tonight's stream. So thanks to everyone who has joined and commented in particular. It's much appreciated. And yes, one way or another, we will see you next weekend. Carl will be on the Saturday show, I think, obviously, of course, next Saturday. Imagine if he did it on a Friday. That would be awkward. But welcome on the Saturday show for the Friday. And Doug, who's literally just picked now to join us as we're just about to finish, was so annoyed at Isaac's injury. Yeah. I have seen it. It doesn't look very good. But anyway, guys, Annie and Stefan, thank you very much, both of you, for joining me this evening. Good to talk about the Championship as always. And of course, we will see you all in the next one. And Doug, go and watch Down from the start, you lazy bugger. So, see you guys later, and have a great Christmas, as I'm sure these guys will echo the sentiment. Take care, everyone.